Hello, today we're going to be talking about division. Today we're going to be focusing on partitive division. The definition for partitive division is start with some things, give an equal amount to a fixed number of groups, and count how many things end up in one or each group. Let's look at this example. John has 8 potatoes and wants to equally share them among 4 baskets. How many potatoes end up in each basket? So referring back to our definition, we have some amount of things and we have a fixed number of groups. So in our example, our 8 potatoes are our things, and our 4 baskets are a fixed number of groups. So now we're going to start with our things and give an equal amount to our fixed number of groups. So with our 8 potatoes, we're going to give a fixed amount to our 4 groups. So let's start with one goes in here, and here, and here, and here. And then let's move on. So now we filled our baskets and we're going to fill them until they're all equally filled. And we end up with 2 potatoes in each basket. We end up with 2 potatoes in each basket because visually we can see that 2 potatoes distribute equally among 4 baskets. And mathematically we can see that if we know our math facts, that 4 goes into 8 2 times. And so if you subtract 8 by 8, you get 0. Now we're going to move on to a bigger problem, which is 2,890 divided by 34. Here our fixed group is 34 baskets, and our things that we have to distribute is 2,890 potatoes. Let's start by trying to distribute our 2,890 potatoes into our 34 baskets with our thousands place. So we can't put our 34 into our thousands because if we multiply 34 by 1,000, we end up with 34,000, and that's much bigger than 2,890. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little 0 here to mark that we can't have any thousands. Then we're going to move on to our hundreds. If we multiply our 34 by 100, we end up with 3,400, which is still bigger than our number of things, which is 2,890 potatoes. Therefore, it doesn't work, and so we're going to mark it with another little 0 to represent that we can't multiply our 34 by thousands or hundreds. If we move on to our tens place, we'll see that 34 times 10 is equal to 340. And this goes into our 890 more than once, which is awesome. So let's see how many times we can put 10 into 34. If we multiply 34 by 80, we'll see that we get 2,720, which fits perfectly within our problem. So we take our 2,720 and subtract it from our original amount of things, which is 2,890. So if we subtract 0 from 0, we get 0. 9 minus 2 is 7. 8 minus 7 is 1, and 2 minus 2 is 0. We write our 8 up here to signify that we put 80 times 34 to get that number. Next we move on to our singles. So 34 times 1 is just equal to 34, and obviously that can go into 170. So we need to see how many times 34 can go into 170 multiplied by a singles place. So if we multiply 34 by 5, we get 170, which fits in perfectly with our equation, or what we have left, which is 170. So if we subtract 170 from 170, we obviously get 0. So we put our 5 up here to signify that if we try to divide 2,890 potatoes into 34 baskets, and we look at one basket, we end up with 85 potatoes. To take it back to our definition, we started with some things, which was 2,890 potatoes. And we gave an equal amount of those things to a fixed number of groups, which was 34 baskets. And we counted how many things ended up in each group, which was 85. So first we looked at our thousands, and we knew that 34 couldn't go into our thousands place. We moved on to our hundreds, and 34 still couldn't go into our hundreds place. In our 90s place, in our tens place, we found out that 34 could go in 80 times, and so we multiplied our 34 by 8, or by 80, depending on how you looked at it, and we got 2,720. Subtracting that from our 2,890, we got 170. And from there, we moved on to our singles place, where we found out that 34 times 5 equal to 170. Subtracted by 170 equals 0. And we find out that our final answer is 85 in division. So the reason we can look at it step by step and subgrouping our division problems is because we can take our number of things, which is 2,890 potatoes, and split it up into thousands, hundreds, tens, and singles, and work on our division between each group.